Good evening, everyone. My name is Scot Houck, and I get the privilege of bringing you the Fireside Chat tonight. I'm bringing it to you on the day after our 2020 election, and as you can imagine, there's a lot of uncertainty right now in our world, and because of that uncertainty, it brings about anxiousness, fear, fear of the unknown. Regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, just not knowing can bring about that type of a feeling to all of us. But as I was thinking, as a Christian, I have the faith in the supreme being, in God the Father, and the Son, Jesus Christ. And what I found is that God is sovereign over all things, and we know this through our faith. But some interesting statements about sovereignty. And I found this one, and it's actually through Wikipedia when you're looking up Christian sovereignty or God's sovereignty. And it says, sovereignty of God is the Christian teaching that God is the supreme authority and all things are under his control. God is the sovereign Lord of all by uncontestable right as the creator, owner and possessor of heaven and earth. And when you hear that, God being the creator of all things, the maker of all things, he has the right to do and be the order over all of it, however he chooses. In Colossians 1:16 through 18, for in him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authority. All things have been created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. And verse 18, and he is the head of the body, the church. He is the beginning and the firstborn from among the dead, so that in everything he might have the supremacy. Because of our Christian faith, we have that supreme authority to anchor to. While the rest of the world may be spinning, thinking, where am I going to turn to? Where do I find my anchor? And they could be having extreme anxiety. So where do they get their faith? Where do they find the answers to their uncertainty, to their anxiousness, to their fear? I say it's us. It's the Christian believer. And so when we talk about how are we going to share that with them? I read an article about 2 weeks ago talking about just sharing your story. Everyone has a story. If you are a Christian believer, you came to faith somehow. And through that journey of walking in faith, you've had stories come about that you can share. I'd like to share a story. This is a story I told way back in the early part of my teaching career. So the story is this. It's about two young boys, junior high aged boys. And one boy was what you would call the popular boy, kind of the athlete, kind of, could have some authority in his position. The other boy was not at all like that. He was unathletic, and he was small in stature, hadn't grown, and so he had been picked on. And this little boy that was continually being picked on, and the other boy witnessed this. And he had witnessed it for a couple of days, and he decided he wasn't going to put up with that anymore. And so he went to the boys that were picking on him, and he told them to get away from him and leave the guy alone. And so he turned to the little boy after they left, and he helped him pick up his books, and he asked him if he could walk with him as he walked home that day from school. And as the year came to an end, they continued to do that, and they continued to develop a friendship. And over the years, they became really good friends. As they grew older, they continued to have a friendship with one another. The result of what that boy did for the other boy came about probably 15 years after the incident. And at some point in their adult life, the one who had been bullied, had been picked on, wanted to tell his good friend, and that had came to his aid that day, what had happened. And the boy who had picked up the books and helped him that day had no idea what the impact of him showing that compassion. What happened, he said to the boy, the day that you helped me pick my books up and you made those bullies get away from me, I had determined that that day I was going to go home and I was going to kill myself. For the young man who had taken the time to do that and had helped him, he had absolutely no idea the power of his action, and had no clue that could change this other young man's life like that. I would say the story that you have to tell is just like that. We have no idea the impact that our story can have on another person's life. Just the impact of that compassion that that boy had on the other boy changed his life forever. It actually gave him life. And then just the takeaway of this story being retold, the impact of the story even now has incredible results. So my encouragement to you is to tell your story. You just don't know the power of your story and the impact that it can have, leading to the belief in the supreme authority. So share your story. Thank you.